Howdy guys, hope everybody's having a wonderful day. This is kind of a part 2 of a video, but then again it's not a part 2. This was covering a crazy day. We started in the file room, we put the band on, started in the file room. I think we had a little mess with the blades. We had to come out, catch the log yard up. I had some 3 loads that me and Mommy had to get graded and bought so Mommy could cut checks, because we was actually a day behind from a breakdown in the woods we had a day before with the single arch John Deere grapple scooter. Needs me in the woods to cut this little steep, little wet, soggy hillside that we're trying to finish this logging job up before the rain. So we need to cut this little slimy hillside so Big D don't have to get in there with Brutus and mess around and slow them guys down. So when they get over there with Brutus, they can just mow-dock through there. And then me and Big Daddy will get down there with that LGP bulldozer, the light, the low ground pressure bulldozer, and we'll cut it by hand and take the bulldozer and skid it out. So we're kind of keeping the dozer on the soft ground, so to speak, and working ahead of Derek to get all the silly stuff done, so when he comes through he can take that big cutter and just mow-dock through there and get this sucker done and get pulled out of there before the rain next week, which would be by saying next week, that's actually the week of not Valentine's. What's the other one? Not kissing turkeys. Thanksgiving. The week of Thanksgiving. So if y'all don't care, I had a little SD card trouble with the camera because all my stuff's kind of old and I ain't been doing Lord of Wade, and some of my stuff's kind of getting antiquated. But I got plenty of footage to kind of show y'all what's going on and what I'm trying to do, cutting some timber with the 592 XP, 28-inch Suji bar, running 63 gauge chain, 3/8 pitch, full comp chisel chain. All right, we made her out in the woods. We're looking around. Big D's over there cutting, him and Raji is. Big Daddy's want me to kind of wait for him over here. He's worried about me. I ain't cut a lot recently, but I feel good. That's what they all say right before they get smashed. But this is the tail end. We're finishing up this job we logged. It was a big job. We bought it right at the peak of season, right before everything tanked. So then we've been sitting on what we could set on at a line of credit running 8% interest. You gotta love that. Waiting for the clock to come back to where markets come back enough where we can finish it without losing, totally just biting a bullet and losing our butts in it. And it's now that time. So I'm gonna start. This over here is a little section that's got this soft ground and it's real steep and choppy. It's gonna be hard for Brutus to get down there and not end up down in Timbuktu, sunk axle deep, you know. So I'm gonna get get on the hillside over here and work them low trees, and what's gonna be hard for Derek to get to without taking a chance of getting Brutus stuck or sliding over the hill, yada yada. So I'm gonna get my saw cranked up and I'm gonna start laying them out a little bit. A lot of hard maple, but I've been cutting hard maple ties back at the mill and hickory, so I got my chain set right for it. So saw should feel pretty good in this stuff. I might regret it. Small job throwing up on All right, first of all, I need to cover, you know, part of this doing logger weight stuff that I do, there is actually some, what would you call that? Photography involved, I guess you'd say, being a cameraman and stuff. There's camera stuff you got to learn about. You know, you got to learn about filters and freaking sound noise reduction and stabilization. Oh, frame rate, a few things like that. There's some things you got to learn. It ain't much, but there's some things you got to learn about it to do it properly. I have learned this over the years doing logger weight. You know, it's a hard knocks life for. Anyways, had to learn how to do that stuff over time. This hiatus I took this summer while I was trying to get down the sawmill and the log buying. Alright, well, I'm going to go down through here. Get all the lower trees. I'll leave all them upper trees. All down through there for Big D. He can get that with a cutter down through there. So throughout this hiatus I took this summer, a few of them things slipped. Kind of lost my edge, and so I thought, well, heck with it. The way I do is everybody's got their ways of doing things. I try to stay analytic the best I can as a human, but I got so much ground to cover. I also have to go at it like an intuitive style. So I thought I'll just go to banging around here, rooting around in here, and see what pops up and work on what they call the Reds, ready, fire, aim instead of ready, aim, fire. So, getting back into this, what I have wrong is I had my camera, my GoPro, first off was set for hyper boost on the stabilization. And what it done is it don't cover when I'm looking up a tree. You all can't see up the daggone tree. When I'm looking down trying to saw, you all can't see what the saw's doing. It aggravates the crap out of me. Well, before I edited this video, I sat down and fixed that. So the next video I'll be cutting, next saw video I'll be cutting some walnut. So I'll have that stuff ready when we go to cut the walnut. You'll see it's a way better. Other things is I'm a little bit rusty on my saw techniques, and now I've always had a bad habit. It always seems like there's two types of people when you go to cutting timber as far as making stumps. There's a type that cuts a hinge off, and there's a type that leaves the fatties. And, well, I guess the third type, and the type that just does it right. What do you call that? My habit is kind of towards making a fat hinge. I don't know why. When I drop my guard, I make a fat hinge. Now, I've always been big on controlling trees and keeping under control. I don't know if that feeds into it or what, but I tend to make too fat of hinges. Anytime I drop my guard, my hinges get fat. Now, in the past, I've always punched the center out, to kind of help a little bit. And if you punch the center out, or even from just reach and bust through the center as you're cutting, it helps combat that for me, and also gives trees room to twist and stuff without But usually if your trees are twisting and rolling and stuff like that when you're dropping, your aim's off a little bit anyways. You know, there's times you got to do a bank shot, but usually 90% of the time it's a straight shot. Just drop her straight in the hole, you know, and have a backup plan, which is in case a tree has to spin, you know. But some of this stuff I'm rusty and coming back. Some of you experienced cutters be like, what the hell's wrong with him? Well, I'm rusty. I know better, but I'm rusty. I just ain't quite. Was that guy off the movie we watched the other night? He just can't get right. So anyways, now this tree's got a beach. This poplar tree has got forward lean, but it don't want to go forward. And I'm sitting there going, do I have everything cut? Do I have it all cut off? Yeah, I got it cut off clean. Why ain't it go forward? Well, this beech tree sitting behind it, a little piece of crap, it's got some, it's giving it a hug. It's hugging the poplar tree. So I'm going to have to, if they want to go out like that, like freaking, you know, Bonnie and Clyde, I'll cut that son of a buck and we can take the beech out anyways. Be doing some forestry. You see him up there, got some limbs around. Well, you can't see up there because I got that stabilization on where you couldn't look up the tree. So anyways, we're going to take the beech tree out with it. Now, when you're cutting like this, now, I don't want y'all watching this and get to thinking, well, all these guys do is hand cutting. No. Derek does 99.999% of the cutting at this company. All I'm doing is once in a while, now that the mill's going good and things are rolling good at the mill, when they get in a pinch and they need to slow down and do this type of slow logging, what I'm doing right now, if they need to do this slow logging, I'm just coming out to help Derek to keep his momentum up so he can stay in his cutter. He can stay with his cutter whacking and stacking, you know. This company does good when Big D's on the cutter. This company ain't going to do worth a shit when Big D parks that cutter. You know what I mean? So all I'm doing, it seems irrelevant, but then again it ain't, is me and Big Daddy moved off to the side. I love Big Daddy skidding off of me. But me and Big Daddy moved off to the side, and we're doing this slow work. He's gonna get the dozer down here and skid with the dozer on this. It's a weird situation. It's soft, and it's a little short and steep, hillside. So it's a type of thing that's just gonna suck time and labor. So if me and Big Daddy can work it with our spare time, both of us kind of coordinated and showed up with spare time. He had the job site under control on his end, and I had things under control from my log yard and all that stuff, and I come out to get a semi-load of logs and just brought my saw and stuff with me. So we can knock this out, because this will be holding Derek hostage to where he can't put the finishing touches on this. This is Friday. We got to put the finishing touches on this, get this job hauled out, which is boom's already stacked in right now. But we got to get this job hauled out and get all the equipment out of here by Monday afternoon, because the rain comes in Monday afternoon. It is turning wet early this year. Daggone, it's going to put a whooping on the winter, which I don't know. You know, people always say in the past, you know, well, you need, and the markets need to put a whooping on it for the winter. No. At this point in time, the markets don't need anything whooping on nobody. We've all been whooped. There ain't much whooping left. You know what I mean? We don't need this bad weather. Nobody does. At this point, we're losing staves. We're losing ties. I'm worried about the low-grade markets. The grade's coming back, but is it going to be too little too late? I don't know. All right, ADHD kick back in. Let's get back to the task at hand. So, we are, look at how them laid. That's beautiful. So, we are laying these out, and I'm, for some stupid reason, making fat hinges. I don't know what is going on with me, but I am making fat hinges, and I'm gonna start pulling fibers on maples so I don't get her put back, back under control there. I don't know what the heck's going on with me. Just being a rookie, or being rusty, I guess. But Big Daddy's gonna get these two from the top, from the other side of the valley down here, and pull them out the other way. piss on that beech tree. Somebody else can girdle that thing. Well, my daggone SD card messed up, so I lost it, locked up. So I lost that rest of that footage I had going there. So we stepped across here to the other side of this. We rocked around this hill a little farther, and there's a little pocket of wood down here that's down a soft bottom, and it's going to have to be pulled out with the dozer. It's steeping up, and for some reason my saw's kicking the chain here recently. It comes to a head. In the next few videos I'll finally get it covered. It comes to a head on my saw, and it actually is something. It is an underlying problem coming into the surface. But, and this is my tie saw. This saw's cut a lot of wood this year. This saw's been, I've used the saw more in the sawmill than I have in the woods, I think, cutting ties. So, and I was running that round tooth chain, and that round tooth chain's kind of hard on the saw. That's one thing about chisel chain. It is softer on the saw. There, that tree set back a little bit. Cherry did set back a little bit. It's a cherry tree. I'll put a little wedge in there and give her a tap-a-roo. So anyways, this tree here, I had notched it earlier, but Big Daddy was making a skid road coming down over the hill with the dozer. So I didn't do the back cut yet. And I kind of dropped across that beech tree, and it was kind of busted up down there a little bit. The top end of the tree I busted up a little bit because I was falling across wood. These are all rusty mistakes. Mistakes I'm mostly making. See, I should have put it up the hill. See where I hit that hard maple? Should have pulled it up the hill. Of course, when I put the notch in it, the hard maple wasn't laying on the ground. I was going to slide it over between them and swamp myself in a little bit, and then cut the hard maple back. But, you know, I should have fixed my notch. And then I shouldn't have cut straight down on this and took a chance of splitting that maple or cherry open. Just, some people won't see it, but a lot of experienced timber cutters will be like, what's wrong with this guy just wandering around? Well, I'm just making a few mistakes here. And hopefully I'll get my stuff back together. bastard. Now, hard maple or sugar maple, or you people up in the Northeast, rock maple, that's a hard tree. When you finally get your saw to where it's biting right and running good, if you go over to hard maple, sometimes it gets pretty jumpy. And anytime you stick your bar in there and go to back blading a little bit, it's going to start spitting and jumping. And that little problem I was telling you all about the saw, I don't want to talk about yet in this video. It's exacerbating and kicking my chain off. At this point, while I'm operating it, I don't know what's going on. But later on, I find out. And it was pretty seismic. I'll let you all know here in a few videos here. But it's hard maple, or rock maple, or sugar maple, depending on where you're from and how you communicate. I laid it down the bottom. Big Daddy's going to come and get it and pull it out. And he's going to start skidding here. He's got his road finished up, and I think he's starting to pull wood now. And you can see where I splatted down the middle of this ditch. See all that black around, that black mud around the tree? It is soft down here. It is nowhere for a machine to be. And this kind of can show you all kind of why we're hand cutting this the slow way. We're logging a slow way in this little section right here, because it could be a time consuming thing, it could be a making a mess thing, or it can be plumb burying a machine in here thing. So that's why we're kind of logging it the way we are. It's a poplar. We call it, yellow poplar, tulip poplar. And I've had a couple commenters on here comment from the east about, they say their popple's a little bit different. They call it popple or whatever. I think they're talking about silver poplar. We call it silver poplar here. It's pretty much just crating. There's not much anybody can do with silver poplar or aspen. I think it's called aspen. Some people calls it, or it's not got much of a use in the markets. But this yellow poplar, they make a lot of trim and things of that sort out of this species. And the lower grade part of the tree, they use, we got a company nearby that uses the inside of the lower grade part of the tree, not the grade part that's used for trim, but the lower grade part that's got knots and stuff in it. They'll use that in like furniture, not exposed furniture, but like upholstered furniture on the inside. The wood that's on the inside that you nail to and screw to, that's what they'll use that lower grade stuff out of. Now this tree I screw up. That's when I finally realized, hey, what are you doing? But we'll cut it here in a second. I gotta let Big Daddy clean the chute out down there. He's got to pull that sugar maple out. And I guess he pulls it out from the top. I didn't really realize that till I was editing this video. Because right now I'm just thinking, I don't want to stick my saw in a tree while Big Daddy's down there. Because I have had trees, and it wouldn't happen so much in hard maple. But I have had trees like poplar trees. Red oak, I've had a couple do it. And cherry. Cherry is a bad one. It's the worst one of all. But you'll get a tree you think's fine, and you'll go to stick a saw in it, and boom, that son of a buck can fall right soon, because it's just a hollow piece of crap that's that if you walk right up on it to a different side of the tree and stick your saw in, you can't tell, and it'll break right over. Well, guess what? If the skitterman's down there, well, I'm trying to make a knot, so I kind of wait, and now I'm going to get impatient and go after it because he's getting ready to get in his dozer, and you'll hear his dozer take off in a second. I'll shut the sound. I'll quit yakking for a second. And here I'm knocking the top out of that poplar. Did you see the daggone splinters I pulled in that hard maple? Man, talk about stupid. I can't be doing that. And next cutting video I do for y'all, I'm going to be cutting walnuts. So I got to get my stuff together pretty quick before I get, I don't know, I got to get my habits. I don't know. It's just been a while. It's been a while. And this kind of shows you this view here kind of shows you the lemmy hard maple. Hard maple's real lemmy. Hard maple and Lemmy Beach can be just turds when it comes to topping. And I know I'm topping kind of sloppy and not right with a tree trunk. Debarker man's going to have to fight through this one a little bit back to meal. But maple really puts out the limbs. Hard maple does. Soft maple ain't a problem so much, but hard maple, it really puts limbs out. And there's one. Break him off, Tater. But they break clean. They're splintery. Maples are kind of busty and splintery. They don't load up like a hickory tree, though. When they bust, they just kind of bust and collapse. And I'm getting up here in the part of the tree. This last log in this tree could be either a tie, or it could be common lumber, just depending on, the side I come up cutting the limbs off of. That's a low grade. That don't even make too common. But the top and the far side away from him, maybe even the bottom, which have been the facing north, that part of the tree probably make maybe even a face cut, or at least one common on the top log. So hard maple's priced good enough, and with the tie market going through what it's going through right now, that might not even make a cross tie now, depending on how the markets are rolling. And here's another hard maple, sugar maple, or rock maple, depending on where you're from. This one's kind of down the bottom, and I'm whacking away trying to get it down before Big Daddy backs the dozer down in here. And what I figured I'd do, drop this and top this one, and then meet up with Big Daddy and hook him up. Big Daddy is 76. And he's still getting off and pulling chokers and stuff like that. I always, me and him's always worked real close to each other. I ain't here recently because I've been back at the mill, but his life lessons is stay physically active, live to be an old person, and that's how you get ahead in life. If you die young, it's hard to get ahead because by the time you get your feet planted in the ground, then there you go. You lost your health and all that stuff. So Big Daddy's always been physically fit and always pushed me to stay physically fit for my health, And a lot of people tell you work like that, going to tear your bones up, going to wear your... That's all the stuff people says to get out of work. You know what I mean? And it takes another like kind to support that, but that's not the truth. That's not the case. And nature helps a lot too. That's why logging's so great. want to take this opportunity to talk to you all about these. About some of you could use some little information here. This is a root wad, and these are really dangerous. And I'm on a steep hillside. I'm on the bottom end of the root wad, which is not a good place to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut all the compression fiber of this tree. That's why I'm cutting down like in with my saw. And then I'm going to get all the way down and leave a little bit of tension fiber at the bottom. And then when I back the dozer in, I'm going to back him down in such a way to where he will hinge off that tension fiber that I leave, and it'll turn into compression fiber as he rolls the tree up out of the root ball up out of the ground. You'll see how he goes about this. Now, it might sound like pretty simple science there. I'm trying to make sure and weaken it up to where I know the dozer can pull it up and over, but I don't want to sever them two pieces of wood. The root ball in that situation was in the ground, so that's good. A root ball that's shoved out of the ground and rolled, that it's not connected to the ground, that's a pretty dangerous thing. But for safety's sake, the top of that tree was hung up into something, and it had spring to it too. So I didn't want to separate the wood from each other. I just wanted to get it to where it's ready to, like a fuse holding, ready to pop when Big Daddy starts rooting around with the dozer. So kind of see when he comes back, and I'll hook him up. And this is hollow. It's a hollow walnut. Small tree, but hollow. But, and that laid pretty good. Now you'll see when he comes, I didn't bother topping that, and she can trim that up the boom. But as he hooks up this tree, kind of look how we roll it up out of there. And then you'll kind of see I'll have to rehook the dozer, so it does kind of take a little extra time. But I wanted to, without a grapple skidder, a grapple skidder couldn't get on a hillside like that and pull back out. But, and you can't tell, it's a camera trick. You can't tell how steep the hillside is with the camera view. But now watch, and I'll hook this cable up real careful and put the choker button on the bottom. So that way when the dozer starts pulling, the dozer starts lifting. So the key to this working is the dozer has to lift that and roll that up out of there with the root wad. And to keep that down at the bottom, once you get the choker pulled tight, I got to keep tension on it. And Big Daddy's a safety guy, and he don't like pulling on the winch with me holding on it, but I'm trying to get him to pull the slack out of it. Let's pull her tight, because I'm trying to set that choker at like 6 o'clock down there. And you'll see why all these factors come into play when he goes to pull it up out of the root ball. Go, Dad. He's sitting there going, well, see, Big Daddy's looking at the big picture. He's like, if he screws around and gets me hurt, it ain't going to be good for the company or nobody, All right, now watch him start pulling around on this. I'll shut up. that hickory tree, cut it. I think that's it. Thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it. And tune in next week. I'm going to have a really good video coming in next week. It's going to cover me and Perry's in it and a few different people and stuff like that. And we're back at the mill for next week's video, working on different things, different problems we're having around the mill, and kind of discussing that with you all and seeing if anybody can help me figure some things out. But thanks everybody for watching. Hit the buttons. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and thank you so much. Have a good day. Later on.